All set.
Thank you. Welcome everybody to the February 2022 meeting of Manhattan Community Board 1's Land Use, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee. I'm Patrick Cannell, chair of the committee. Laura Starr, my co-chair, may be joining us if Laura's not on already. We also have Diana Sweetai, our Director of Planning and Land Use for CB1 with us tonight. We have one item on the agenda, but it has several subparts, and I know there's a lot of community interest around it. We are going to hear about an updated presentation on the Sallyport. Our committee will hear that presentation. We'll vote on a resolution on that tonight, and we're also going to get an update from the borough-based jail team on I think construction related activities. So with that, I'll turn it over to the city team. I know there are a lot of presenters, so I'm not sure how you guys want to divvy it up or how you want everyone to go first. I would say if there's any way to do it where we can take care of the Sallyport issue first, vote on a resolution, and then hear the rest of the updates, that would be preferable so that we get the voting item taken care of. But if it needs to all come sort of at the same time, we can do that as well. I would just note that the community is probably going to mix several things up in there because I'm sure they have a lot of questions. But if we can separate them out, I think that's preferable. Take it away. Oh, and sorry, I'm just noticing and want to point out and welcome our council member, Christopher Marte, who I see is with us as well. Anyway, city team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Xiaomin Xiao, Outreach Coordinator in the Intergovernmental Affairs Unit at DDC. Thank you, CB1 and Chair, for giving time to us to do presentation tonight. We did a dismantle presentation at CB1 Quality of Life 2 weeks ago. Tonight, the borough-based jail team will share the interim Sallyport updates. Now I will turn it to my colleague, Nora Macia, to share the presentation.
Great, thank you, Xiaomin. So let me switch to the agenda slide. Okay, so as Xiaomin just said, we are here tonight to focus the presentation on the Sallyport project updates. So we'll do we just did a brief intro and an aspect of the meeting purpose. I will walk everyone through an update on where we're at with the site schedule. We will also touch on community engagement and resources available to the community during construction. And then we'll provide interim Sallyport design updates with a brief overview of the overall dismantle project. And so this presentation is focused specifically on the Sallyport. We're just going to touch quickly on the dismantle during that. So we'll get to the voting item pretty quickly, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So on the project schedule, so we are here in early 2022. The dismantle notice to proceed was given to the design build team at the end of December of 2021. So that team is kicked off in the new year and is getting work underway. The interim Sallyport construction is slated to begin this month and will continue through July of 2022. And then the facility, the new facility RFP went out also in December of 2021, and we expect to have the selected design build team for that part of the work onboarded by the first quarter of 2023. So I just want to make it clear to everyone, the team that is here tonight, this is the design build team that has the contract for doing the interim Sallyport construction and the dismantle of the existing facility. It's going to be a separate team that will be onboarded in 2023 that will be doing the design and the construction of the new facility. So that facility has not yet been designed. The interim Sallyport that is starting construction this month, construction will go until July of 2022, but then that facility will remain in place until substantial completion of the new facility in 2027, at which point the interim Sallyport will also be taken down and dismantled. So during all of this, there are a variety of resources for the community. This is a quick snapshot of past engagement that we have done. Most recently, we did a couple of presentations in December of last year. We presented to this committee. We gave an initial presentation on the Sallyport design. We received a lot of feedback during that meeting. That was part of a preliminary PDC submission. PDC also heard about the community's feedback and responded back to our team asking for some design changes and updates. So we are here tonight to show the community the revised design and what changes we have made in response to all of that feedback before we resubmitting to PDC on the 18th of this month. We also presented about the artwork removal and storage and the Percent for Art program in December. And then throughout January, again, as the design build team has kicked off, we've had a number of briefings, first with Councilmember Marte, also with the borough president, and then we were recently at the Quality of Life Committee to walk everyone through the full dismantle process and what to expect during dismantlement, in addition to some brief updates on the Sallyport. And then we also held a briefing with stakeholders in Chinatown on the 26th of January. So upcoming meetings, we are going to be on the agenda for the CB1 Executive Committee on the 17th of February. And that is in response to a number of questions we've received on some of the technical information and planning for dismantlement and environmental questions. And so that presentation is going to be focused on those environmental issues and the information we can share about those topics. We are also still intending to do quarterly NAC meetings. Resuming those NAC meetings is pending a little bit of coordination we have with the new administration. So we'll keep everybody posted as soon as those start back up again. And we will continue with doing community board presentations throughout dismantlement and construction of the new facility. As I said, there are a number of resources available for the community throughout the construction process. We have our newly revamped website that is online. We have our community construction liaison, Pauline Chan, who is here with us tonight. She has a designated phone number. She'll be issuing quarterly newsletters and weekly look-aheads, in addition to 72-hour advisories in advance of any impactful construction activities that happen that are going to be community facing. She will have a storefront and office space located at 110 Walker Street, just a block from the site. We expect that to begin being open on the 15th of this month. There's a conference room that'll still be getting built out and will open another week or two after that, but we do expect her to be on site and available on the 15th. This is a quick snapshot of our website. I mentioned there's a lot of information that the community can find here, updates on project timeline, all the notifications that we issue get posted here, NAC presentations and other community engagement updates also get posted. This is a snapshot of those advisories that go out to the community in advance of impactful construction activities. These are the 72-hour notices that get posted. And this is Pauline Chan. Some of you have already probably seen her and met her. She's been going around the neighborhood, sharing these advisories, sharing her project information card, and just getting to know the community. So she's a great resource for everybody. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Robert Young, or actually Richard, I think you're going first to give a quick overview about the overall dismantle process.
Hi, good evening, everybody. How are you? My name is Rich Peterson. I am the project manager for the dismantlement design build, and I'll walk you through the dismantlement process that we're getting ready to get started. So right now, we are in February. We are getting ready to set up for the interim Sallyport to start construction. We have been working inside of the building doing our site assessment and surveys for the past month in order to develop our dismantlement means and methods for the DOB. About mid this month, we will be going on site to start setting up our construction fencing. We are setting up the field offices and we'll begin to have a presence on the site. By the end of the month, we hope to start the artwork removal and prep for storage. And then around May, you will start to see scaffolding be erected on the buildings and prep for full dismantlement come summertime. And now I'll walk you through a quick animation showing the intended procedures that we plan to use to take down the two structures. So here we are looking southbound. You have Chung Pak to the north tower, and then the south tower. We're going to be installing site fences along the property lines, installing oil-static protection on White Street in order to not disturb the Con Ed line. The Sallyport will be installed at the north end of the courthouse on Center Street sidewalk. Buses will be able to cross over the existing curb cut at the same frequency that they are doing currently and back into the Sallyport. Not shown on this slide is the traffic delineators or barriers that we are going to be installing, which we'll discuss a little bit later. You'll be installing roof protection over the Walker Street property, which is Chung Pak, over their skylights and their rooftop equipment. Sidewalk bridging and scaffolding will be erected on the job site. As you can see here, the scaffold is not your typical Sidewalk shed, it is the urban style shedding, which allows for no cross bracing, you know, at the area of pedestrian traffic. So it's open, airy, and a bright lit sidewalk shed. Here you can see on White Street, once the site's enclosed, the artwork will be removed and salvaged, and the White Street Bridge and other miscellaneous removals will take place to open up a landing area on White Street for the project, a staging area, if you will. Crane will be brought to the site. The exact crane is still under design, but it'll be installed on the White Street area and be able to pick and lower equipment, steel, and debris from the building. The scaffold systems that we're using are unique to this project. They are being designed in order to contain noise, dust, and sound from the neighboring properties. So they will have sound attenuating and dust blankets on them, and they will work to create a cocoon-like environment around the floors of dismantlement. The crane here you can see will be utilized to pick and lower the perimeter precast concrete panels. They will be lifted out of place and lowered down to White Street, will be removed from the site. Various other parts of the building, such as concrete columns on the north tower, steel beams on the south tower, will also be picked and lowered via crane to the ground. You will see that the equipment here works on a top-down fashion, so the floors will come down floor by floor, and the bridges that connect the south tower to the courthouse will be dismantled once we reach that level. The openings in the courthouse where the bridges connect will be sealed off with limestone from the south tower in order to match and appear, you know, fluid on the building that there was never a bridge connecting to it. This will continue floor by floor down to grade level, at which point the crane will then no longer be needed and the floor slab on grade will be removed. White Street will remain intact. There is no excavation occurring. The tunnel that connects the two towers below White Street will remain. It'll be sealed off on either end and abandoned in place for future removal once the oilostatic line is no longer in service through White Street. The basement slabs will be fractured. This will allow for drainage, no accumulation of water on the project site. As you can see, that's the tunnel I was just describing. The perimeters will be braced and shored as required in order to support the soil loads that will be used to fill in the project. And the site will be left flush to grade with no tripping hazards or any areas of flooding or depression. Once the site's filled and leveled, the perimeter sidewalk sheds will be removed and the site will be left to be turned over to the next design build contractor for the reconstruction. And now I'll hand it over to Robert Young to discuss the Sallyport design updates.
Thanks very much, Richard. My name is Robert Young, and I'm with the Lero group as part of the team. Let's go to the first slide if we can. One thing we didn't talk about at the last presentation was the existing Sallyport, which you can see illustrated on the left by two photographs. The Sallyport's kind of an important program, and a lot of people aren't even sure what it is. Persons held in pretrial detention and persons convicted and remanded into custody must be transported to and from the courthouse in a manner that's safe and secure for detainees, for corrections officers, and the general public. And a series of secure doors and a controlled sequence, which makes up this Sallyport, ensures layers of protection during detainee transfer. It's critical that uninterrupted operation be maintained, and thus this temporary Sallyport is a key piece of the puzzle. You can see that Sallyport illustrated to the left of the gray block of the New York County Criminal Court building. Let's go to the next one, please. This illustrates the area that we're talking about. You can see the complex to be dismantled to the north side of the site. And what we're trying to do is to squeeze this new Sallyport into the area as close as possible to the existing circulation zones within the building, as well as close as possible to that existing Sallyport. Let's go to the next, please. This illustrates the location of that Sallyport. So you can see it's up as tight as possible to the criminal court building. It's illustrated in blue there, and provides the means of the bus getting into the building and then the transfer of prisoners into the facility in that small dogleg to the north, I'm sorry, actually to the east of the drawing right there. You can see that the sally port itself is slightly pushed back from the fencing so that we can maintain as much clearance of sidewalk as possible given the requirements of the Department of Corrections. Let's go to the next, please. This is a close-up of that plan, and it's really comprised of three sections. The first one, of course, is the sally port, which shows 2 detention buses in place and allows the prisoners to be brought, the detainees to be brought up into the entry area, into the existing building where they are connected to the holding area. The other 2 components are an officer guard booth, which is up tight against the building. And the third element is the proposed bail payment center, which is in the opposite side of the entry to the sally port. The clearance of the sidewalk, sorry, go back one, please, is a little more than 13 feet and aligns approximately with the construction shed as well as the existing building farther up Center Street. Let's go to the next, please. This was the elevation that we presented last time as minimal and as simple as we could get it. Some feedback came back that we think was pointed and quite effective. Let's go to the next one, please. So what we've done is we've worked within the DOC requirements for the clearances to get it as low as possible. We were able to drop the building by 1.5 feet from its pre-proposed height. In addition, we've brought in some clear story lighting to allow some more light into the building, but as well to mitigate some of the scale issues of that previously nearly 17-foot tall wall. It's now at about 15.5 feet. The third mitigation strategy here that you can see in this elevation is a zone below those windows that extends the entire length of that wall, which is an art strategy wall. So we'd be looking closely at ways to integrate some art into this public experience along that front edge. Let's go to the next one, please. So this is a view showing those clear story windows really being relatively effective at dropping down the mass of that, as well as the drop of the 1.5 feet from where it was. Next, please. So from the side view, looking at the entrance into the sally port that the buses would take, you can see the proportion of the remaining sidewalk at 13.2 and that guard booth that provides 24-hour visibility onto the sidewalk at that point. This is a view of that end of the building. The materials in this building are chosen to highlight some of the shadows in the existing facilities so that we can mitigate the scale again as much as possible. It is by its nature a block of space that has quite difficult restrictions in terms of how it functions. So we're trying to apply some techniques to make it feel a little bit less massive. Let's go to the next, please. So this was another big issue at the last presentation, which has to do with the way that the buses are brought into the site. What this is illustrating is that we are able to use the existing curb cut and then bring the buses in up tight to the construction fence underneath the scaffolding so that we can back in and still maintain clearance of that sidewalk all the way across the front. Let's try to pull to the next one because I think there's some very important information in here. So the existing process, the buses drive in off of Center Street using that curb cut. So there's a number of times during the day when pedestrian traffic is stopped so that we can maintain safety. The same condition will exist with the proposed interim sally port, where we're still using the same curb cut. We'll still use people that will be flagging. But in this case, what we're doing is pulling the buses under the sidewalk shed and behind some traffic dividers to provide some a real safety barrier for the public from that process. Let's go to the next one, please. And this is a view along the sidewalk showing that where that thing is located and where the continuity of that building occurs with the building in the far distance, where we can maintain at least that 13-foot sidewalk clearance. And what you're seeing in front of you is the bail payment center.
Okay, So with that, that brings us to the conclusion of this presentation on the Sallyport and Dow Pavement Center. I think we can open it up for questions.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. And thanks for weaving in the update in there. I actually thought that was very effective. So what we're going to do, folks, is as usual, we're going to go first to the committee members for questions. I would encourage committee members to focus your questions, if you can, on the Sallyport issue, as we do need to come to a resolution on that. But of course, since the construction or dismantling update was given as well, feel free to ask about that. I see no, okay, now we do have two committee members hands up. So we're going to go Michael Kramer, Justine Kucha, and we'll take it from there. And we will also have, after the committee members go, we'll have an opportunity for members of the public to ask their questions as well. Michael.
Were you saying Kettering or Kramer?
Oh, I'm sorry, Kettering. I just
Yeah.
saw Michael K.
Okay, yeah. So could you explain, I see how the buses get in, they pull across the curb cut and they back in. How do they get out?
So they exit in the same fashion, crossing over the existing curb cut and pull north on Center Street.
So are they
So
backing?
if you look on the left side of the screen here, the bus pulls out onto Center Street and travels north.
I see. Okay. That was it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Justine Kucha and then Tammy.
Thank you so much. So I just have a quick question. How much sidewalk space is going to be left once the Sallyport is in place?
13 foot 2 inches.
13 feet 2 inches. And how much is the sidewalk now?
At the north end of Center Street, it is 13, just over 13 foot 2.
But at that spot where the Sallyport's going in, it's way bigger than that. Yeah.
Yes.
Has to be. Yeah. All right. Sorry, I signed in late, so I don't have anything that I can ask of any. I'll be repeating. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Justine. Tammy, then Alice.
I'll go last, please. I'd rather, you know how I roll. I'd like all of the committee to go first, and then I'll go.
Good deal, Madam Chair. Alice Blank.
Okay. Hi. Thanks a lot, Patrick. Just a couple, well, no, more than a couple, maybe. Design. So you mentioned you had the design notice to proceed. What exactly is that? And have you received the DOB demolition permit to proceed with this demolition?
So we have a notice to proceed for our contract, and the permits for the dismantlement are still being processed.
Okay, thanks. So you don't have that yet. Okay. You mentioned the PDC review is February 18th, or is it the 14th? Is it this coming week, next week, or?
The submission is on the 18th for the Sallyport, and then the PDC meeting for review and approval is on the 13th of March.
Oh, that's what I thought. Great.
We're submitting the 18th.
Okay. I had a lot of questions on the demolition itself, but I guess I'll maybe save those. But can you talk about could you just take us through the circulation of a detainee coming out of a bus and into the courthouse, and what that is like at this point in the design, and what will it be like when the Sallyport is no longer functioning, or at least if you know?
So are you talking about the existing Sallyport or the new Sallyport?
Well, the new Sallyport, sorry, the new Sallyport.
So the new Sallyport bus backs into the garage doors on the north end.
Mm-hmm.
And then the persons in custody are transported up the existing staircase, but still within the Sallyport. It's an L shape, up to the doors, right where that mouse is, right there. So all behind and within the Sallyport.
So the blue lines are indicating what in the interior of the north?
That is
entrance
the
of the
perimeter of the Sallyport.
But inside the building, what is that blue line going to be? Is it a piece of structure or construction?
So that's still outside. That's within the north entrance vestibule area. It's still on the exterior of the building. It's a indent in the building, if you will.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. You come up the stairs, you've entered the courthouse at
So
this point.
this right here, I can't see my mouse. The circular
that
doors at
line.
the top, if you go to the top, Lauren, though, that is the entrance to the courthouse.
So this is just the, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, sorry, I didn't see that. Okay, so this is still all on the exterior and this is built. It's good, it's
currently
panels.
existing. The blue line is being added to
Right.
divide the space between the sally port where the person's in custody or transported and the entrance to the lobby.
Okay, so I guess what I'm sorry to be so unclear. So these are going to be steel panels in this infill. Is that what this gray or putty color is? Is that what that will be in that section of the entrance of the courthouse?
Robert, would you say they're steel? I don't know if they're steel. Robert, what is the technical name of the panels?
Well, they're metal panels in a metal panel rain screen system, and it's not solid on the top. It's actually open mesh, so that there's daylight air getting through on the top of this. But the wall itself provides that barrier between the public's access to the courthouse and the prisoners coming in. So they're actually not inside the building. It's, they're in a sally port, but they're not covered and inside the building until they go through the double doors up at the top by the courthouse lobby. And that connects them to the interior holding cell so that they maintain a separation between public and detainee.
And will those go away at some point? Is the idea that those will disappear at the point?
All of this will disappear at after 7 years and will be restored to the original condition.
Wow, 7 years. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Patrick. Thank you.
Thanks, Alice. So I see Rosa Chang, Pat Moore, have your hands up, and Justine, I think your hand may be up for a second round, but let's go Rosa, Pat Moore for now.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I was wondering about Baxter Street. What is the intention in terms of street closures for Baxter? And I know that we saw the whole 3D animation regarding the Sally Port on the Center Street side, but what's proposed for Baxter?
So that wasn't shown on this presentation. We've presented it in the past to a community board. I'm not sure if it was this community board. The Baxter Street sidewalk will be closed and the parking lane will be closed.
Okay, and
so
the pedestrians,
street. Go ahead.
And the street will remain open?
The street will remain open. The only closure will be the parking lane.
Okay. And so will there also be a Sally Port on the Baxter Street side?
So the current Sally Port has an entrance on Center Street and an exit on Baxter. The new Sally Port operates solely on Center.
Okay. If that's the case, then why does Baxter Street need to have the parking lane and the sidewalk closed?
It's the safety influence line from the dismantlement.
I see. So it's not necessarily related to the Sally Port itself?
Not at all.
Okay. And how many buses are there daily?
Is Sasha on?
Yeah, I don't have that exact data, but I can get that to you.
Hi, this is Mercy from DDC. I think I spoke with Nick Nelson, and I think with Nick Nelson from DOC, and he told me that it's about 15.
Okay, so 15 coming in and then 15 leaving, obviously. And how long do we anticipate the sidewalks will have to be closed for each bus to be either entering or leaving the facility? Given the sort of painful turning, rotating.
So it's going to be exactly the same as it is now. It's a cross, and then the sidewalk will open back up again, simply pulling in through the driveway.
Can you go back to that traffic, the sort of the route? Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Yes, this one. So if you look on the left-hand side.
No, the other one.
Okay.
Yes, that one. Okay. So basically,
this is an overlap. Just to be clear, one of the buses is shown pulling in, and the other one is pulling out on the same image.
I see.
And then on the right-hand side of your screen is the reversing into the Sally Port.
I see.
And I think what Richard was trying to show on the next slide, just as a quick comparison, is that this is where the buses are pulling in today. There's an existing curb cut here. And in the proposed condition, those buses will be using the same curb cut and crossing over the sidewalk at the same point that they do today.
Right. But obviously, given that the route is not quite as simple, it will be taking more space and time.
Not necessarily, because right now the bus pulls up and has to wait for the garage door to open, where now the bus will be able to pull in and move forward and resume the sidewalk opening before the door has to open.
I see. Okay. And so there it's indicating that the sidewalk is going to basically be on the interior side of the sidewalk shed once it's gotten past the curb cut, correct?
That's correct. It'll be closer to the tower than the curb.
Okay. And does this leave one lane on Center Street open or two?
All of the lanes. We are not closing any lanes on Center, with the exception of the parking lane during construction of the Sallyport.
Okay.
Which you can see indicated directly in front of the Sallyport. You can see the on the right-hand picture, just right of the crosswalk. That area of parking will be closed in order to allow for the bus movements. And during construction, it'll be closed for pedestrians to walk.
Okay. And what is the pedestrian route supposed to be if the vehicle is going in and out? Are they essentially waiting for this to happen? Are they crossing the street, or what's the expected?
Same as it is today. They would just temporarily pause while the bus crosses the sidewalk.
Okay. And I know that it's called an interim Sallyport, but the reality is it's probably going to be there for a minimum of 5 years, more likely longer than that, given how these things go. Why does it have to be so horrifyingly ugly? I mean, it's going to be part of the city fabric for at least 5 years. Has there been any thought put into the fact that it's going to be, on our street for at least 5 years, more likely longer, and how it could be designed in such a way so that it's not, well, yeah, so it doesn't look like it looks?
Well, I don't know if the team, I think the characterization is a bit subjective, but perhaps, Robert, you could explain some of the design parameters and constraints, again, that we're working with and working around in the design of the Sallyport building.
It's a very constrained site and a challenging program with a severe height limit, but it's also needs to be constructed extremely quickly so that there can be no interruption of access and service and transfer of detainees. We have to maintain operation, so it has to be built extremely quickly. So the elements that it's constructed of have to be essentially off-the-shelf items with no customization whatsoever. Otherwise, the schedule could not be maintained to hit that operation maintenance. The concept behind it was to at least try within those parameters to affect the scale as much as possible. It'd be lovely if it could be all sorts of remarkable materials, but it has to be extraordinarily robust, fast, inexpensive, easily dismantled, and almost more critically, for the longer term, it cannot be something that has an impact on the building in the future. So it has to be built very lightweight on that sidewalk and not touch the existing building physically. The wall across the front, we've lowered it as much as we possibly can. We'd love to see the integration of an art project along the front of that piece, and the introduction of the clear stories will certainly help. The coloring is based on the existing building, so it's trying at least as much as possible to fade backwards. And given that there is a sidewalk shed right there next to it, its visibility is I think less extreme than the way it's portrayed in the renderings.
Could you please go back to the rendering of the actual Sallyport proposal. Yeah.
Rosa, I'm also going to ask that we wrap up the
Okay,
questions too.
sure,
We have a
sure.
number of other folks with questions as well.
Yep, go ahead.
Go ahead and finish this one and then we'll move
Okay.
on.
I just feel like, Robert, I sort of feel for you because you're being asked to defend something that honestly, it sounds like you find, it's difficult to defend. The reality is it's going to be on our streets for 5 to 7 or 8 years. And so I think a little bit more thought has to go into what that impact is on a pedestrian and urban experience level. And this is not good. This is not something that I would personally want to walk across and experience every single day. And and I don't think it's subjective. I think that we can all agree, even if you're designing it and you sort of sound apologetic about it, that's not a good sign, right? This needs some work, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosa. We're going to go to Pat Moore and then Gerald Forsberg, and then Alice, I see your hands up again, but maybe we'll go to Tammy or Alice. So Pat, Gerald.
Thanks, Patrick. So I would like to know if the interior of the Sally Port is ADA accessible, because you said that the detainees exited the bus and walked upstairs. What about if you're a disabled detainee?
No, it is handicapped accessible. That's actually a ramp that's built to negotiate between the sidewalk level and the upper level of the courthouse entrance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Gerald?
Yeah, Pat, would you mind flipping to page 18, I guess back a page? So maybe this has already been discussed, but it appears that along Baxter Street, there's ample room to actually be able to do a Sally Port maybe midway through the block and have it be drive-through rather than back in and back out, or however that works, I guess back in and then go forward out. Why was Baxter Street ruled out? Obviously I haven't seen any of the interior floor plans, so I don't know the access and all that, but those seem to be some very deep wells, and if I recall from walking through there's ample space back there as opposed to taking over these front entries.
So
sorry, go ahead, Richard.
The interior configurations of the building is what leads to the use of the Center Street side.
And so is there access? I would imagine there's access from Baxter Street in these what would you call these deep wells? I'm sorry, is there access from Baxter Street to the interior of the building?
There could be. The problem is that you can't have circulation from the public that's inside the building crossing with prisoners or the detainees. So we have to maintain a separation of those. And the existing holding area is in such a location that we can either attach along the side of the existing building where it currently does, or using those double doors. Otherwise, there's a massive reconfiguration of flow within that space that would be prohibitive.
I want to take that at face value here, but without seeing the interior space, I mean, really, there's no way to reconfigure the interior spaces to permit, I guess, through shot to the courtroom by the detainees, possibly in new holding cells, etc. I mean, what about it? I mean, we're talking temporary facilities here. What about taking one of these courtyards along Baxter Street and turning it into a temporary holding facility?
So it was explored, and the Center Street was the solution that is obtainable.
Okay. I mean, again, we have to take it at face value at this stage, but I think it would be helpful to present options to.
I'm sorry, this is Nina Custom with the Project Management Consultant Group. There's actually courtrooms along Baxter Street, which is why detainees couldn't come in from that side. And so there's holding cells on the Center Street behind where that blue area is. There's actually a secure corridor that leads to the holding cells for the people, for the detainees, once you get inside the building. And that's why that entrance was the preferred entrance for bringing the detainees into the building.
I see. So the holding cell is this left-hand portion.
Yeah,
within
that's
the blue
all
area up there?
yeah, it's
That's
all
all
DOC
holding cell?
space along Center Street, and then the control room. And so it allows the people in custody to walk, you know, securely through without going into any of the public spaces of the courthouse, and then turn right in and go into the holding area. And the control room is kind of is in that space in the middle of the plan, so they can walk by and get checked and go through security.
Do you think that maybe between now and the executive committee, you could possibly show us the interior layout there? I mean, it's just so difficult to talk this through and visualize it without actually seeing the interior spaces and the circulation. Maybe some circulation paths would be helpful as well.
Yep.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, Vera, I see you have your hand up for the first time, unless Tammy wants to go.
Vera first.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Tammy. Thanks, Patrick. Question, you mentioned 15 buses daily will be coming. Can you tell me what times they are slated to come, the buses?
I can, yes. So the vast majority of them go in the morning for a 9 a.m. court, so in advance of a 9 a.m. court appearance. And then, you know, they would leave as well at the end, you know, toward the end of the day between 4 and 5 p.m. And so that is where the peaks of the traffic flow is.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned, or someone mentioned the parking lane will be closed on Baxter. I'm assuming you mean the west side of the street, right? Not the east side of the
That's correct.
Okay. And then I think this is either Lauren or Xiaomin. Can you tell me you briefly stated that there was a Chinatown stakeholders meeting on January 26th. I heard nothing about it. I'm not sure if our community board heard anything about it. Can you tell me who called this meeting and who was there?
Yes, we hold a meeting with Chinatown leaders. Usually they don't attend CB1 or they are not on the Manhattan NAC list. So we know a lot of them are missing from this discussion. So they are all on those lists like CCBA, Lansing, all those like many family associations, business owners near the MDC sites. And we also invite business on Baxter Street to join.
Okay, if you could share with us the attendee list for that, and then what was the substance? Is there minutes of this meeting, Xiaoming, that you can share with us?
We did the same. We share same presentation with CB1.
It was the same presentation that was shown to the Quality of Life Committee. It included some Chinese translation of the text, but otherwise the content was the same.
Okay, so, and this does not constitute an NAC meeting, correct? That's not an NAC meeting.
No.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. That's it right for now. We're not talking about the crane, right, Patrick, or anything like that right now?
No.
Okay.
We're gonna vote on the South Port. Well, I mean, Vera, if you have questions about that, we can, if it speeds it along, we can get those out now.
Yeah, it's just the first time I've heard about this crane, and I have obviously had like concerns. Did not know actually when it's going to be put up and how long it's going to be there, and where is it? When it's parked over, it hangs over which area? Concerns about weather and all that stuff, because we've had cranes that have fallen down before and have killed people actually. So I have all those concerns and questions, which I'm not sure they want to answer now, Patrick, or later on, but lots of questions.
I mean, if the team, Richard, you seem to be one of the more succinct folks on the city team. If you can sort of quickly let us know the time, duration, and location and security apparatus for the crane, I think that would help.
We are currently undergoing crane feasibility studies, and what that means is we are looking at different types and dimensions of cranes, from tower cranes to crawler cranes to hydraulics with different boom and jib configurations, and trying to determine the most effective crane or cranes that would fit on the property and be able to access the most of the building without having any or minimal need for building cutbacks in order to be able to operate, as well as making sure they have the proper lay down for any high storm activity that might occur. And all of this will be engineered, by licensed PEs and submitted through Cranes and Derricks for approval.
And that, I suppose that we will have a chance to be able to ask more about that later on, because we have 88 plus seniors living right next door. We have a daycare center in Chungpak as well too, with children under 5 and under. And
I'm
also
very aware. I've been meeting with Charlie, well aware of the daycare and the senior citizens in Chungpak. We are developing the roof protection currently for the skylight and the rooftop equipment just above the daycare. And we're developing our means and methods to make sure that we have no impact to any neighboring properties. That is of utmost concern to us. I personally have been involved in the cleanup of crane accidents in the city. I understand the devastation that it can occur, and we are developing everything we can to develop the most safe and practical crane configurations that are available.
Okay, thanks, Patrick.
Thanks, Ray. All right. As far as committee members go, Alice, you have your hand up for another round, and then Tammy.
Thanks. Could you go to the page 16? I just want to better understand. I think Gerald was getting at something that I've often had the same problem with. I'd like to understand what is prohibiting us from using any of the existing condition access. So maybe if you could just describe that with that particular
So
slide up.
the existing Sally Port is part of the dismantlement zone. There is a basement underneath it. It needs to be removed and replaced. So the existing Sally Port locations cannot be reused during the dismantlement and further reconstruction. As discussed, the interior layout of the courthouse does not permit the entrances on Baxter for the transfer of persons in custody, as well as Center Street is the location that allows for that to occur.
But up until a few months ago, I guess, that was the access point, not into the courthouse at that level, only through the basement?
No, so I don't have mouse control. If you go to the center of the existing Sallyport, Lauren, there is door entrance and exits into the north end of the courthouse. So they're currently transferring from within. That now is part of the dismantlement zone as the existing Sallyport's being dismantled.
Well, I guess I'm sort of with Gerald on this. I mean, and with Rosa Chang. I mean, I think the one that has been, is being built is really an insult to a tremendously injurious situation where the very beautiful building that is a state and city landmark eligible building is already coming down, but we should in addition put this really, frankly, a kind of ugly wart in front of it. And so I just don't understand, I could, appreciate that in your mind, you have to get the basement demolished, but, there are alternatives. And so I just don't understand why this side space that's completely available and that is in fact already used for this very use can't be considered again as an alternative rather than putting this in the front. I mean, I still don't understand it. And I guess I agree that maybe you'll have to come back to convince us, but it would be helpful to better understand it because you did show a plan in December at your other earlier Sallyport presentation where we did see a plan that showed very briefly the building, and it doesn't prohibit access into the court from the street on the north. So I'm just, can you, I mean,
I'm not sure which presentation you're referring to that we showed using the north end of the
I
building.
think it was on December 20th, but I'd have to check. You had a plan briefly up where you showed the Sallyport actually with the floor plan of the courthouse. And it showed the walls and all. I have it up actually right now, but whatever, I just got a better, I think the public could really benefit from understanding why an existing Sallyport in a location that you control and which is empty, essentially can't still in some way be an access point, whether buses pull in there or whatever. It just seems it's not clear. It isn't attached to the building. I mean, it is, but you know, it's not essential to come down. It's not making
It
sense.
is structurally attached to the south tower.
But
It
that
is the same
space,
structure.
so let me say, if you got rid of it, why can't you use that space itself for an interim measure? Particularly as the building hasn't been designed yet, it doesn't quite make sense why that couldn't be part of the new design.
I'm not sure I follow. The Sally Port needs to be dismantled, and in order to dismantle it, the people in custody cannot transfer through a site that's being dismantled.
And I'm asking again why that particular part of this has to be dismantled.
It's the same, it's an integral structure to the south tower. It is one and the same. The basement below it is all tied together structurally.
Okay, I guess we're going to go around in circles on this. I would say there's an alternative here that should be reviewed, and I don't think that giving the community this piece in the front is fair. And you know, and it also was another question I had in calling in a little bit of where landscape architecture and landscape designers are involved in the process of trying to green this thing. But that to me is secondary to the bigger question of trying to find a different solution using that space. Anyway, thank you. That's it.
Thanks, Alice. So, Tammy, do you want to go now? We still have, it looks like Vera and Gerald have additional questions, but we are going to wrap this up. So I'm going to ask Tammy if you would go, and
It's perfect that I went after Alice because she went through the big parts of not understanding why there's a long time that this project will be a several years in the making, if not decade, if that's right, and why the Sally Port cannot be used existing now and moved to an interim when you're at that phase for construction. So I bravo that. And then, but the greater question is, with the amount of beautification that they were actually able to do all over the city, and conversations we've had about what they did, for example, at World Trade Center campus, and what 5 World Trade and other construction sites have been able to do, it makes zero understanding to me as a chair who's not a landscape architect nor an architect themselves, as to why you can't be doing anything better than a palette of beige. Why there isn't any landscaping of any kind being taken a look at to beautify for what the community will have to live with for, you know, a decade of construction. And even artwork on the outside. You're dismantling, taking down. I mean, no one's ever going to think this is a beautiful thing attached to it, but at least to make it somewhat palatable and not just a disgusting, banal wall would be really appreciated. There are several local artisans that I'm sure, or even the artists that you are kicking out and dismantling their artwork, having an opportunity to be able to do something beautiful on the sides would be lovely. And then you talked about the bus bulk. Can you indicate what the current bulk is and how the anticipated bulk in the temporary Sally Port, is it equal to, greater than, or less than what we currently experience? And for how long do the numbers anticipate being static?
What do you mean by bus bulk? Or Sasha, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, are you asking? Yeah, are you asking about the core production volume?
Yep.
Yeah, so we do not anticipate those numbers changing. I mean, it is an impossible thing to fully predict, but based on current, there's nothing that would indicate that those numbers are going to change.
And how do they relate to what is currently done? Greater, less than, equal to?
Those numbers are based on current practice, so it is equal to what currently happens.
So then I guess my question becomes, if it's equal to what's currently happening, how does it work with the other borough-based jails in terms of the volume that's going there? Will any of it be diverted to the other locations? Or does Manhattan, I mean, with the new supposedly criminal justice reform and where people are being able to be closer to their families and things like that, there will be no reduction? Is what you're saying?
So no, sorry, I think I may not have been clear. These are just projected numbers during construction. And so during construction and what is currently happening, because all of our borough facilities are closed, is that everyone in DOC custody is held on Rikers Island. And so people have to be transported to the courts in which their cases are pending. And that will remain consistent throughout the duration of construction, given that all 4 boroughs, you know, are under construction at the same time.
And could you possibly go back to the physicality of the building and where the Sally Port is in the front and understand? I'm looking to understand, since you're going to be killing the greenery and the trees in, if even the existing Sally Port, you see there's a whole green going from the Sally Port south, I believe that photo is. I assume all of that is going to be torn up in the temporary location of the Sally Ports. Is that true? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, it will be removed.
And you know that will then the infrastructure be put all the way up for what's needed to the absolute wall of the building?
Yes.
So then I challenge you even further, considering that one of the guarantees and promises to the community was to maintain in the points of agreement all the kind of greenery and landscaping for whatever was there. My challenge for you is to find a way to landscape the exterior of the temporary Sally Port so it is not just a box. And I look forward to hearing opportunities that incredible work and talent and skill can figure that out. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tammy. Gerald, I see your hand up for another round, but we do have a few members of the public who'd like to speak. If you can quickly get a question or two in, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. Actually, as a point of clarification, now that I've pulled up some photographs of the structures, Richard, if you could indulge me for a minute, this blue box rectangle that is being pointed at as the existing Sally Port to be dismantled appears that it is you had mentioned that it was part of the South Tower. Is that correct?
Yes. So the Sally Port is the entire length from center to Baxter. What's indicated in blue are the above grade structure components.
Right. Okay. The above grade. So, in fact, if I understand this correctly, where is the entrance to that Sally Port? Is it off of Baxter or is it actually off of White Street?
I requested permission to annotate. I'm hoping I can do it.
Yeah.
I can. So the current entrance is to pull north on center and pull in through here. There's a series of holding doors. The buses then are staged here and then exit here.
Okay, very good. I see. All right. Thank you for that clarification.
No problem.
Right. Let's go to our public members, Edward Kucha, then Nancy, and then Bill Bilaski.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes. Hi, Edward.
Hi, how you doing all? Well, I'm going to give the community board sort of my update on the engagement or lack thereof of community engagement. Just to remind everyone, again, my name is Edward Kucha. My office is sharing an adjacent wall on Walker Street to the soon to be demolished jail. I've had one visit from Pauline, Chan, Xiaomin, and Cynthia a few weeks ago, and there has been no follow-up. I had one visit from the Gramercy group, and there has been no follow-up. I do not understand what, I think it was Xiaomin talking to Vera about this stakeholder meeting on January 26th. With respect, I am a community leader in Chinatown. I am a legal consultant for the Lynching Association. I regularly appear at CCBA. I am a legal consultant, for many associations in Chinatown. I'm a business owner adjacent to the jail. No one is talking to me, and I've had virtually no community outreach. Why was I not invited to the stakeholder meeting? Why are you guys not seeing me every day, every other day? And lastly, I'm sorry to talk too much, but if you recall, this community board recalls, I was asked to insure the city of New York for their construction. I have not received a competent answer. All that I received was an email from Pauline saying this was a quote, landlord issue. I do not understand what that means. To the best of my knowledge, Chung Pak and the city of New York are continuing to ask me to insure the city of New York on my insurance, which is respectfully ridiculous. I'm getting angrier and angrier. And I'm sorry, I'm calling BS on you guys. I'm just not seeing what you people are saying. I gotta have 10 years of this. This is a nightmare. Thank you.
Hi,
Edward.
Go ahead. Yes. So thank you for your question. Yes, we reached out to you and we got your questions. So after we checked with DCAS, it was determined it's a landlord antenna issue. So that's why we encourage you to speak with your landlord. And also we will relay your questions to Tung Park. We sent an email to you like in late January. And then also for your question about local small business support, we also reach out to SBS. So we will work with SBS to start an assessment and outreach in the area soon. So we will let you know once we stop by your office again.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Edward, and obviously continue please to keep us updated. It's good to hear from the folks right there on the ground what's going on. Nancy, then Bill, then I see Jonathan Hollander has also raised his hand.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Patrick. And I just wanted to extend a quick thanks again to the community board members for raising really important questions on behalf of the community. I had one question, but now I have two. I share Edward's concerns as well as Vera's. I've been to every single NAC meeting, and at those meetings, we've consistently asked to make sure that the tenants, the residents in the on Baxter Street were informed. We were assured by the former city council member and their office, as well as the city, that they were, and it's really clear right now they have no idea what's going on. I strongly, strongly encourage you not to have separate meetings because it creates distrust, it creates rumors, and it is not the most efficient way to discuss such a huge project with the community. I strongly encourage you to have one set of meetings so that we all can hear what are the concerns and we can all voice them at the same time. It may be a little bit longer, but to have separate community meetings is, I think, a huge flaw in the communications, and it is a method to divide the community, to be very frank, and I strongly recommend that you have one. My second and more pointed question is related to the Sally Port. In the current one, there has been detainees that have escaped and have run through Columbus Park into Chinatown, onto Worth Street, and you are very well aware that there are thousands of residents. There's a school right across the street. This is obviously a heavily populated area. With the Sally Port that you're designing, what is the mechanism? And I don't know the actual name for the double doors. I think it's man trap, but I'm not sure. Like, is there a mechanism to enhance the safety of the residents here? Thank you. And again, thank you, Patrick.
So I do just want to address your first point about the multiple meetings with the community. And I want to assure you that absolutely does not come from a place of attempting to divide the community whatsoever. We understand that, I understand your concern and why you might think we just want to have one point of contact and one meeting where everyone comes and attends that. We have noticed that a number of stakeholders and part of the particularly Chinese speaking population does not frequently attend the community board meetings. And so what we're doing, they weren't separate presentations with separate information and packs of information that we were giving out. We took the exact same presentation that we brought to the Quality of Life Committee for Community Board 1 on January 19th, and then provided that to additional stakeholders. So we're taking the same presentation, the same content, the same team numbers, and just trying to make sure we have as many touch points as possible to get that out to a broader swath of the community. So hopefully that can clear up any confusion, but we take our concerns very seriously. And perhaps Robert can speak to the security mechanisms or the safety mechanisms, or Richard for the Sallyport doors.
I'll let Robert take most of it, but I do want to say we are coordinating everything with the Department of Corrections to make sure that we meet their needs in our design, but I'll let Robert speak to anything that is particular.
Hi, thanks, Richard. The term man trap is actually the correct one. And it's not that well known, so 2 points. It follows absolutely the DOC's operating standards so that the bus is secure by itself. It's brought into the Sallyport. The doors of the bus are not opened until the doors to the Sallyport are closed. The door that leads from the top of the ramp up into the access corridor into the building is also not opened until the detainees are out of the bus and are standing near that door. Then that one is open, they're brought in, that door is closed before they can go into the building. So it's a series, sequential series of man traps, but it's designed to follow the Department of Corrections operating procedures.
Thanks, Robert.
Okay, let's move on to Bill, then Jonathan.
Applaud the community board for identifying a series of parameters that the design team should be addressing, which is the location of the Sallyport. If we must live with this jail, it seems no reason for us to live with the Blivet addition onto Center Street. There's no reason we can't either make a design constraint for the project that you either come in off of Baxter Street or you work with the existing Sallyport location. Any future addition to this historic building is going to run into a lot of pressure from the community to have it built hard up against that north wall of the historic Tombs building. Some setback should be required. That's the file of space that comes down Baxter Street that the current Sallyport occupies. It seems that it makes tremendous sense to cut that piece of the building off. Yes, it was part of a basement structure, so now make it part of the south structure of the existing tombs and build the new addition, the new structure to accept it and work with it. There's a solution that this city can listen to the community to here once and accept and make a beautified Center Street and not have to put this Blivet on that side of the building. They'll accept it on Baxter Street. I think we should just work with it, move forward in that direction, please. Now I want to get to my two questions. How many cubic yards of building are being removed? How many trucks does it represent? And will the community boards 1, 2, and 3 be engaged in what that traffic plan means to the city to have that many, and dare I say, thousands of trucks run in and out of the city to remove the embodied energy that ought to be staying there in the first place? Thank you.
So I don't have the exact cubic yardages or tons on me. I can present that information through the DDC to release to you. But we are working to minimize the trucking during rush hours and peak hours and looking to work with the traffic flows in and out of the neighborhood to make as little impact as possible.
This is a repeat question from last month. That doesn't seem appropriate that you don't come this month with that answer. And is there a guarantee or a promise that you'll come to all 3 community boards with the traffic plan, not the we're going to do our best? That's
So the
lip
traffic
service,
plan is
excuse
not
me.
finalized yet, so I don't have that available at this time. Once it is finalized, I'm sure it'll be available through the DDC through the appropriate channels.
It sounds like we aren't going to get it, community board.
I'm just going to jump in here. No offense intended, but hearing something that months and months and months, and I'm not talking once, I'm talking having sat at the NAC in Q1 and Q2, asking for it in the chat because you weren't allowed to unmute yourself, this information is long asked for. So I don't mean to be rude about this, but when you tell me we'll send it out through the appropriate channels, I'm asking, as we have asked before, to have a direct email. And yes, I understand you have a community engagement person, but we're a year in the making for waiting for this information. So having one email go to somebody and then the trucks rolling the next day, having the fences go up before all of this is finalized, doesn't really show good engagement, transparency, or partnership with the community. It feels like a backstopping because we've already been told that the fences are going up before the transportation plan is finalized then.
So we hear your concerns, and I understand the frustration that you've been asking to see these plans, as you said, since Q1 of last year. There's a process that we follow. The design build team was not onboarded and did not have their notice to proceed until December of this past year. So once they came on board and their contract was finalized, they could get work underway is when they were able to begin the traffic studies that they need to do to develop these plans. And so that's why we hear the frustration that you've wanted to see this for a while, but it's only until, basically now that the team has begun working on that. And so that is the reason for the timing. As soon as the plans are,
So Lauren, what community feedback has been given to this team who is doing the transportation that we have discussed? How do we have a confidence level, because we have not been at the table, to understand that they need to understand not what the dream is based on no traffic, based on no community input from the ground level for people who live here and the businesses? What feedback or engagement are they doing in the transportation plan that would make me as a chair turn around and say to the community, they're on top of it? Because we haven't had that feeling, understanding, conversation, period. So what community feedback and how are they reaching out to understand more than what a DOT plan says, what the actual traffic patterns are like on a weekday basis at all hours that the Sally Port will be utilized, and construction will be active weekday, weekend.
So Richard can, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that, an understanding of those traffic counts, that is the work that is currently underway to understand the existing conditions. And I think that's one of the things that we would like to come back and talk to you more about on the 17th.
Was that done during COVID when all the businesses are closed? I mean, you hear where I'm going. We're having discussions about congestion. And if you're telling me that the traffic counts are being done or were done during COVID, it's immaterial. I mean, it's incorrect information. So when are the counts being done? Were they done pre-COVID, post-COVID?
Rich, I'm not sure if this is a question for you or if anyone's on the line.
I can tell you that you have myself, who is the project manager for the dismantlement, and you have Robert, who is the architect lead, who is working on the traffic with his team with regards to the Sally Port. We have been under contract now for about 5 weeks. We are hiring the sub-consultants that are performing the traffic counts. We are developing different routes in and out of the city, and none of it has been finalized yet. But I am here in these meetings. I do hear your concerns. I've heard that you want Baxter to be the secondary choice for all traffic coming in and out, that you're concerned of the businesses on Baxter. You prefer Center Street to be utilized. I am here and I do hear you, and I am taking all of that into consideration as we develop these plans. However, being that we are 4 or 5 weeks in, they have not been finalized and they have not been completed at this time. The fence construction is not the dismantlement. It does not involve the truck counts for the removal. And we understand that. White Street is our staging area. It is closed off. It will be where trucks idle, where trucks are loaded and unloaded, and is not on the city streets. And we are still developing that plan, but I do hear your concerns and we are all taking it into account.
So what I would like to know, because you're doing all of this assessment during a still time in New York City's evolution and recovery that we are not back. There is not 100% people back. We know this, it's well reported. Well, so what we want to know is what is the bandwidth and plan for reevaluation? How often is that going to be reviewed and looked at again? And what are the potentials for changes to that? Is it once every 6 months you're willing to guarantee a reevaluation? Is it after the first year? Is it a seasonality? These are the things that are important to understand. Tourist is higher, obviously, in the warmer months, and we do not want to negatively impact anything that will help us rebound economically.
Understood. The dismantlement process is up until summer, fall of 23. The plan that we are putting in place will be until then, and then the new design builder will be developing a future plan for the construction.
So there is no review before the end of 23, but in 23, a new review will be considered, looked at, and accomplished for the construction, correct?
Yes.
So Lauren, I'll let you speak to the new.
The new design build team will have to prepare their own, assessments and plans before beginning construction on that facility.
Thank you. Sorry, Patrick.
No need to apologize. All right, Justine and Gerald, I see you have your hands up. I'm reminding folks it's almost 7:20. We have to deliberate and vote on a resolution. Please keep it brief. Justine, then Gerald.
Patrick, we have one more member of the public with a hand up.
Jonathan Holland.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let him go first.
Sorry, Jonathan.
Couple of things, just two things, and I'll be brief. One is the traffic that's been talked about. I just want people to think about the fact that the buses are going to be coming with the detained people. And at the same time, the trucks are coming with the removal of the dismantlement. And I heard from Ms. Ginsburg that the buses that are coming in time for a 9 o'clock in the morning and then leaving for 5 o'clock in the afternoon, just to highlight the fact that that is when there is the most traffic in this area on both sides. Okay, that's number one, which, I do feel like the team, Gramercy, and everybody involved here, it has been given a job that they cannot do effectively because this building is being shoehorned into a community that cannot possibly take all of this activity. Anybody who's ever driven in and out of the city from Canal Street or the area already knows that there's a huge backup to the Williamsburg Bridge, the Manhattan Bridge at those particular times. So I can only imagine what this is going to be for this community. It's a disaster. Secondly, I just wanted to focus a little bit back on Vera's point about the crane, because looking at the design, and I realized that that was just an estimation of what the crane might be, but cranes turn and cranes revolve. And from what I'm seeing, the crane will go over Baxter Street and over the buildings, the restaurants, the small businesses that are on Baxter Street that are going to take a hit. They've already taken a hit during 9/11. They took a hit during the 2008-9 recession. And of course, COVID has practically destroyed them all. Now they're going to have a crane going over them. And I don't see any plan to protect them against anything falling, as was talked about in PAC, which basically covering the skylight on Chun Pak does not seem adequate in that case either. But I just wondered if that is my question. What is being done about the buildings, the restaurants, the traffic, the pedestrians on Baxter Street when that crane swings?
So loads are never picked over active buildings, roadways, or anything of that nature. That is not what is done. And the depiction of the crane you see was a rendering. It is not the final design. We are working with the different crane sizes and radiuses to pick the one that works for this job's configuration. That's the feasibility study that we are underway with right now.
I hope that somebody is going to be watching this and see that there is a rotation of cranes. I don't see how you do anything without rotating the crane.
If that's understood, we are working with the rotations that they maximize the use for the project site and not the overswing of the community. And they are all being taken through cranes and derricks for approval through New York City.
Thank you.
I think I'm next.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. Justine, go ahead.
Thanks. I'll be quick. I guess I just want to follow up on the lack of transparency that was raised by Tammy Edward Kucha, and I so would love an answer to his question. You know, the answer saying that his insurance thing is a landlord issue. What does that mean? That means that the city and the city's not asking Chunpak to have insurance on the project. Is that what your point is? I mean, he's a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. I don't know what the heck that means. Can you explain that first? That's question one.
Correct. That request is not coming from the city of New York. And so that is something that Mr. Kucha will need to discuss with Charlie, with his landlord.
Okay, thank you for that, because that's clear. The second thing is the transparency, and everyone else has spoken to it, so I'm not going to go on with it. But you're not engaging with the community, and I understand that you guys have been on for 5 weeks only, but how this is still under deliberations and design planning, but you're going to start the Sallyport sooner than the design is planned. I don't understand this.
So there is removal work. We have to salvage the granite pavers so that they can be reinstalled. We have probes to do in the sidewalk to access the existing utility lines and subway to ensure that we are designing it to be placed in the areas that do not interfere with these items. And this is all work that needs to take place as part of the design work.
Yes, but all that work is going to disrupt the traffic and disrupt the neighborhood, and that has not been taken into account as part of your demolition at this point in time. That's what's outrageous here, and that's what the community is getting so angry about. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Justine. Gerald, round three, if you can make it quick, please, and then we're going to vote on a resolution.
Sure, thanks, Patrick. I want to just bring this all the way back around, and if you could indulge me and explain to me again why a 39-year-old concrete and steel structure is being determined as obsolete. Whoever that's the question. What is determined that this 39-year-old concrete and steel structure is being as obsolete?
So it sounds like you're asking a question as to the reason for the rehab of the facilities. Is that correct?
My understanding is we're taking down structures. That's not a rehab, that's a demolition.
So this goes to the larger borough-based jail programs intent, I guess.
Yeah, and I believe, I'm sorry, I think this is a question that Sasha Ginsburg would often speak to, and she had to leave at 7 o'clock. I apologize for that. But we can, we're here, we're absolutely taking meeting notes, and we'll try to get a response back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, because I'll be asking that again at the executive committee if it doesn't come up. Thanks.
Did we get the price of the demolition for the Sallyport and the price for the construction of it? Do you have that estimate, please?
Okay. I don't know if we have the breakdown of the price of the demolition of the Sallyport specifically. The cost of the Sallyport itself, yes. Give me a moment to check notes. Hang on a second. So the overall dismantle, not specifically the dismantle of the Sallyport, but the dismantle of the existing facility is 125 million. And the Sallyport cost, which is part of that, is 6.4 million. That's for the new construction of the Sallyport.
Thank you.
Okay, friends, committee members, it's time to come to a resolution on the Sallyport issue. I guess to orient us, we can keep in mind our usual toolbox of yes, no, yes with conditions, no with conditions. don't gather I'm hearing from the comments an overwhelming yes, but I don't know that I've heard an overwhelming no either. So it sounds like to me we're going to be somewhere in there with conditions. Anybody want to be brave and sort of help us outline something?
Well, I'm not sure I understand. Yeah, I'll be brave. No, I'm not sure I understand the yes. The yes to what? I think we're hearing no to the Sally Port. I mean, I'm not sure I understood where you're going.
I was saying, in fact, that I did not hear a yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't.
Ruling that out.
Okay,
Ruling it
right.
yes
So
out.
I think it's unquestionable that, and it's very much in keeping with the resolution we wrote last week on no to the jail, and a pause for us to carefully review where we're at with the new administration and the pandemic and all. But there is very little question for the questions that have been really raised tonight, that no one really understands the point of the dismantling of both these buildings. We've never ever seen what might happen if you were to have kept 124 White Street and brought down 125 White Street, and how that might be an alternative we want to look at. We need to see alternatives. So I just don't think we're at all convinced this Sally Port needs to be demolished, one, and two, that the one that they're proposing is at the right place, has enough information about it, and I mean, ugly, well, that's another point. But so I just think it's, to me, clearly not yet there, and I think it should be in keeping with our early resolution. We need to take a pause and have a chance to review the alternatives and better understand why this is the only alternative that's an opportunity for this community.
Okay, thanks, Alice. Rosa, then Vicky.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I just wanted to raise an alarm for everybody here. I don't know if you've been following what we've been seeing at the environmental protection meetings or the waterfront meetings, but just so everybody understands, we have really, really little public open space downtown in our community. And what we do actually have is along our entire perimeter. In the next, starting already with East Coast Resiliency Project, and then going on with the other 4 projects, all of varying timelines, but all pretty much starting this year, we are looking at park closures of pretty much every single park that we have downtown. Okay, now we have 250,000 people that live here, even more that come into work here without, coronavirus. And we don't have any outdoor space, or we're not going to have any outdoor space. Now we have this tiny little park called Columbus Park right beside this area. And that park, one of our few inland parks, is basically going to be taken out of commission during the exact same period as all these resiliency projects are going on. I think we need to just, again, take a pause for a variety of different reasons, like Alice has mentioned, but also really consider what we're doing here with our urban fabric, and the fact that we are going to have 0 open space for our community downtown, because it's all going to be under much needed construction for flood protection. I think the timing of this project is frankly horrible. I think that the fact that we're paying $6 million taxpayer dollars to build this, sort of pukey whatever Sally Port is offensive. I think that I understand that you guys have to work within certain time constraints to do the work that you need to do, but you need to understand that this is going to be in our community for years. It's not temporary to us. We're going to be passing by it constantly, and it's an insult. And I think that you need to, if you're going to spend $6 million on something, take a look at how it's going to impact the community that it lands in really seriously, and think about whether you would want that across the street from you as well. So I'm concerned about the park, seriously concerned about the park. I don't understand why this needs to happen now, although I must admit I'm very new to this conversation. I'm horrified that it's happening right now, and whatever. Okay, sorry.
Vicky?
Thanks, Patrick. Oh, I don't know where to begin or what to say. Obviously, the new construction manager and the demo team and everything else is far more equipped to speak on behalf of what they're doing. Everything they showed us so far, is just a project. We get a project and we just work on it to the best of our ability. This takes me back to our objection is with the Lira Group's client, which is the city, right? Everything that was discussed tonight by the community board and the public just should be used in our resolution as an example to show what an inappropriate location this jail is. Everything goes back to, this is a ridiculous site. Discussing, coming and going and little details is not the, it's not the big issue. We should use all of these conversation points in the resolution and force the politicians to force the agency to stop, pause, and review this whole project. Because yes, it can be built and it will be a horror. And that is my only comment. Other than that, I don't even know what to say to all our debates, discussions, and contributions that have been neglected and not addressed at all. The city is just moving along, doing what they want, in spite of the fact that the population does not want this. And I'm aghast. I just don't know what to say. Forget all the planning. I don't care about the planning. I don't care how well Liro's doing it. I don't care where the crane is. There are agencies who control that. We have to trust in our system. But everything boils down to, we don't want this in this location. And that's where I'm voting no on everything that is possible to vote no on.
Okay. Thanks, Becky. So with your comments, Alice's comments, and I think if I heard within Rosa's comments as well, unless others want to speak up, this does seem to be more of a no, and the reason is it's not fully baked. It doesn't take into consideration other alternatives. It doesn't take into consideration various impacts on the community, particularly to open spaces, etc.
May I just add one more
Yeah.
comment? Sorry. So people remember, every time you ask for something, it costs us, the taxpayers. We're footing the bill. So if we want a better looking Sally Port for $6.5 million, then our city, we, and the politicians who represent us should demand an open design process so that we can see that design process. But what they've done, another horror, is they've released what's called an NTP date, notice to proceed, and yet they don't even have a demo permit. They don't have a permit to move on. The design is not liked. And you do know we're spending money. Our money is now going, like as if the floodgates open up. I do agency work. Our NTP date was delayed 7 months until we had all the questions and permits in place. So this agency has now opened up the gates and more money is going out. If we're not happy with this design, stop it. And show us the design so that we can evaluate what we're getting for 6.5 million. And let's not ask them to add cost to that by making it a green wall, for example. It'll come at 8.5 million. We need to see what material and sections they're using, because how can, that little thing cost 6.5 million? Thanks, Patrick.
Okay, thanks, Justine.
Yeah, so to me, this is a definite no. And I guess what I would ask that you put, it's not, I'm not on your committee, but what I would ask you to put into the resolution is to say, we have a jail that's there already that maybe needs to be renovated or work to be done inside of it to make it, whatever, better, more livable, more workable. Granted, it's not large enough for the purposes of that they want, but why do we have to demolish anything? There's the structure that stands right now. Why don't we take some money, put it towards fixing what's there, moving forward with that, opening it up, offloading Rikers, and if we combine that with criminal justice reform and putting in projects for to support people to not actually ending up in jail, wouldn't that be a much better solution to get rid of Rikers, use what we have, spend the money that, I forget, at some point I heard the words $11 billion to do this whole darn thing, if not more. How about taking some of that money towards and put it towards social programs?
So
Make it not necessary.
Not to cut you off, Justine, but yeah, that harkens back to earlier resolutions and points that were made during the borough-based jail ULURP, citywide ULURP process to begin with. So I think we can certainly make reference back to those resolutions in this resolution.
I think it merits saying it again because we've got a new mayor who has expressed an interest in not moving forward with this. And maybe we just make it really clear that, hey, pay attention because we don't want this. The community does not want it. So I would suggest my input is to add language that harkens to it, but repeats it. Thank you.
All right. So I'm just seeing hands up again. Rose, I'm not sure if that's up from before, or Alice, I'm not sure if that's up before, and Vicky the same.
This is a new one. Thanks, Patrick. So just to the point that was just made, don't do the demolition and then basically have to fill in a pit, and you're paying to fill in the pit, right? And then leave a site bare and waiting for whatever plan, happens when you don't have a plan, and then traumatizing the neighborhood once again to restart construction. I mean, have some consideration, please, for all the people that you are affecting, whose lives you are affecting, whose livelihoods you are affecting, and whose education you are affecting. Okay, and actually just do a good job. And a good job would be having a plan, following through on the plan as efficiently, as quickly as possible, and then getting out of there. So if the jail happens, when the jail happens, whatever, if we should have a jail or not have a jail, but just at least have some consideration for the community that you are working in and minimize the impact of the disruption that you are going to put in. And the way that you would do that is to actually come in with a fully baked plan, not a plan that you're making up on the fly as you go along, spending taxpayer money, leaving sites sitting for God knows how long, because you don't actually have the plan for what you're going to construct there, right? And you don't know when you're actually going to do it because nothing's been approved. So have the plan first before you start taking stuff apart and then leaving a site empty to sit for God knows how long. And then maybe you're going to build something on top of it again. When you have the plan, then talk to us about the demolition. Thank you.
All right, Alice, then Vicky, then we really need to vote.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure that what gets into the resolution
What about
is an absolute unequivocal call for what we've asked for now for 3 years, not just Community Board 1, but Community Board 3, for the alternative, which we're all calling for, to look at what if you renovate, what if you bring down 125 White and you keep the building that the state and the city would like to see preserved, not to mention the community, before you go further. That has got to be, we've been asking for that at a minimum, there should be a review of that particular set of alternatives. So I just want to add that into the resolution. Thank you.
Okay, Vicky, you're going to get the last word. I'm going to call the question.
Thank you. Two things. Sometimes
I've had my hand up.
No, Joe, it's not up, but I'll recognize you after Vicky.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Just quickly. We would like to see, and I'm sure they've done this, sometimes rehabs cost more than actually taking it down and rebuilding it. So please show us, right? The demo plan that I saw here tonight is a very fancy plan because they've been listening. They don't want dust, they don't want noise, they want to mitigate. That is a very fancy plan. So is the sidewalk shed. So we should be careful what we ask for because we're spending enormous amounts of our money. Secondly, I would like to have in the resolution, and I'd like all of you to know, that a program such as a jail is a depressing thing for everyone to see. All you have to do, never mind live next to, all you have to do is stand on that sidewalk for a minute and imagine the misery inside that building. People are scared, people are angry, people are sick, they're in a jail. This is another reason that this is a poor location choice. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, Joe.
Do you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, so I think we should stop the talk and have a resolution against this and list our concerns and request an answer before anything else happens. Thank you.
Amen.
Way to
Could have
go,
done that.
Joe! Woo!
Could have done the whole meeting in 5 minutes. All right. With that very correctly succinct punctuation point, I'm going to call to a question. We'll do the vote by acclamation. If we will assume you're in favor of a no resolution, so you're opposed to the Sally Port pending any further information and clarification and listing of all of our concerns, which have been captured here tonight. Otherwise, if you are opposed to the resolution, please let us know. Make yourself known.
I only just want to add one thing, that Vicky's comment, I'm not sure I would 100% agree in terms of, the fact there is an existing jail and that it has a proximity to the courthouse. I think we've accepted that, and we've often said that in our resolutions. So what you've said is contradicting that. So I'm not sure I would agree with that particular point.
How long are they in there for? Sometimes they're in there for years. This is a, like, we know what the term is between a prison and a jail.
They don't listen.
Detention center.
Oops,
Wait,
I know Joe's not muted. Is this a detention center? How long do they stay? Is this a jail? How long do they stay? Is this a prison? Because if you're going to have
It's a jail, Vicky. It's not a prison.
Right.
So it's for detainees, and the assumption is that it would be very, ideally would be a very small period of time.
People in and they're trucking them out. How long is the new program going to keep people in there?
Okay, see,
Okay, I'm going to step in here because we have called the question and we're limiting the debate over the issue. We'll wordsmith the concern to capture both points in a way, and we can deal with the exact language as we get closer to the full board. So in any event, are there any no's on the resolution? Which again is an opposition. Hearing none, are there any recusals or abstentions? All right, hearing none, the resolution passes unanimously. I think we are done. Right, Diana, am I missing anything?
Does DDC, do you have more to your presentation or stuff outside of the Sally Port to present?
No, that was the presentation we prepared for this evening. Thank you.
Yeah,
Great.
that was it.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. We're adjourned. We'll see you guys. Oops, sorry, we'll see you guys very soon. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
Night.
Bye.